Hey guys, I'm going to run you through how to use TQE's wide receiver cornerback matchup tool. And now, while the name of it is wide receiver cornerback, as you can see immediately, we do not limit it to those positions. Wide receivers and tight ends against linebackers, cornerbacks, safeties. We want to understand where they are, how they're performing, by route, by coverage. The most in-depth wide receiver cornerback matchup tool on the internet. You guys made a couple requests, and we made sure to update the tool this year based on what you guys were looking for. Obviously, you select the year to compare. You can go back previous seasons, see if trends and statistics have held up over time. You guys wanted to eliminate certain weeks. All you have to do is click off week 2. It'll now no longer be on week 2. If I click on week 2, it'll include week 2. If I do click off a bunch and then change my mind and I click all, it'll then, take up all these weeks, as you can see. Now, so I'm just going to start with the breakdown of Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans. Obviously, if I wanted to change this to tight end, it would change it to the Bucs tight end. This happens, Alan Cross. We would look at O.J. Howard, for example, and maybe compare him against a linebacker like Demario Davis, hypothetically. We're going to stick with Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans for this example. So we scroll down here. What do we see? We see where they're lining up. Left receiver, right receiver, slot receiver, 48, 36, and 14% of the time. Marshawn Lattimore, I can see, is 27%, 66%, and 5%. Keep in mind that a left cornerback will fight this off against a right wide receiver. What this tells me by these numbers being, not 90% on one side, it tells me that Marshawn Lattimore will shadow coverage NFL receivers. And occasionally he'll go in the slot, depending on who the receiver is. So that immediately knows that I'm on the right matchup here. This is the top receiver. This is the top cornerback. One thing we added too was if the player's in green, that means he's a projected starter. Now, obviously, Evans and Marshawn Lattimore are starters, but as you go through and compare cornerbacks, cornerback depth charts aren't as well known, so it's helpful. Here's a data visualization of what each route looks like so you can get a sense of it. This is how each player performs on route types. We can see that Mike Evans was targeted on go routes more than any other route. 4 of his 8 touchdowns came on go routes. Go routes and digs were made up a high percentage of his targets. We can see what targets Marshawn Lattimore struggles with, whether it's a go route, curl out, post. He actually really didn't get lit up on any particular one with a big enough sample size. So a couple of these he didn't do great, but nothing really stands out here. Go routes, he was beaten 4 times for 2 touchdowns, but 7 incompletions, 1 interception. Average ADOT of 32.5. So teams chucked it deep on him when they went for the go route. We scroll down here, we can see coverage metrics. This is how Mike Evans did against zone versus man versus press jam. Press jam and press, the difference is lining up directly across the corner, and press jam is lining up when the corner then tries to puts his hands on you. So this is a really helpful tool. It goes a little bit beyond whether or not teams play man or zone because there are a lot of combo situations in the NFL. And this will allow us to know, okay, Mike Evans beat man coverage better than he beat zone coverage last year. Maybe we're looking for Evans on a week that he is going to see a lot of man. Press and press jam makes a lot of sense that he succeeded against that just based on his size. So if it's a very press-happy team, we might have an opportunity to exploit Mike Evans that week. It really allows you to go deeper, understanding how a receiver performs against coverage types, because that's as important as the matchup that week of an individual defender is how the team plans on stopping him, zone, man, press, and how he's done against that type of coverage. Now we scroll down here, we can see this is another new aspect of the tool based on what you guys wanted to see. How he performs as a left receiver, right receiver, slot receiver. He didn't do very well in the slot, but he killed it as a right receiver. Meanwhile, Marshawn Lattimore got lit up every single time he was targeted in the slot. He gave up a reception. So this is a great way to understand how players do in certain areas of the field. And then these are data visualizations. So we want to understand, let's say, yards per target on routes. We can see, different yards per target on routes, see if Evans' routes against Marshawn Lattimore might be a little bit deep or Lattimore's not used to covering as deep or whatever it is. A lot of data visualizations for all the above statistics that you can play with coverage type, alignment, and then any difference in all of these rating, which is the quarterback's rating when targeting Mike Evans or the quarterback's rating when targeting Marshawn Lattimore. So it's a great tool to really go in depth on any wide receiver cornerback matchup, wide receiver versus safety for whatever reason, tight end, linebacker, tight end, safety. Know more with TQE's wide receiver cornerback matchups than anywhere else.